Hey guys, this is Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses. And today I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I've been reading, a few articles about what's been going on with artificial intelligence. I just feel like you should, if you're in this space, you should be informed about what's going on. You should take time to read something about it. And I'm going to take this time to actually go through just share with you some of the stuff that I've been going through, that I've been learning about it. And let me just start off by introducing myself. If you didn't know, uh, my name is Bruce. I've been doing cybersecurity, IT work since the year 2000. And I've just been helping people get in this field, been teaching people in and out of the field about uh, GRC work, which is governance, risk, and compliance. But all manners of cybersecurity is what I teach and talk about. All right, let me talk to you about and I take questions. So if you are interested in getting in this field and you have some questions about, how did you go about doing that? If you're curious about it, then I will be taking questions after I get through this. But let me show you guys a little bit about what I've been looking through right here. So there's been a whole. This is just not even the tip of the iceberg of what's been happening with this. This stuff is happening so fast, literally like on a weekly basis. Stuff is happening. Companies are being acquired, and things are being discovered, invented. It's so fast that I can't keep up with it. And the thing that's crazy about it is that it's going even faster. If you're not in this field, if you're not in IT, if you're not interested in it, you're not seeing any of this. You're seeing some of the highlights every now and then. Something comes out, you'll hear a little bit of something, and people are kind of, there's a buzz about it, but you're not seeing like all the stuff that's happening. So what I want to do is show you some of the things that are incredible that you probably need to know. So Google is absolutely killing this space. They're really not being talked about enough. Google is really not being talked about enough. Everybody's talking about either China coming up with something. A lot of the stuff China comes up with, not to say they can't do it, but a lot of it is copies of what's already being done in these U.S. companies. But other than that, people are talking about Open AI, Sam Altman, Open AI, ChatGPT, which that's understandable. I mean, they're definitely the leader of the pack as far as marketing is concerned. That's for sure. But the stuff that Google is doing, I would say Microsoft too, but Google especially, which I'm about to show you. You'll see what I mean when I go through this. So Google recently came out with something called AlphaEvolve, and what it does is it researches algorithms to make them better, mathematics and algorithm to choose the best algorithm in order to go to so that it a system can operate faster. Um, this best for me to just explain it through a couple of slides. I think you'll understand what's happening. So the evolution of the alpha projects. This isn't the first big project that they've had. So there's a series of what's called alpha projects. You might have heard of a couple of these. So one was AlphaGo. And so AlphaGo was DeepMind, a part of Google. DeepMind put together an AI to beat the world champion at Go. Go is like chess on steroids. It's not even close. There's so many more moves you can make in Go that you can't do in chess. Whereas you already know about IBM's Big Blue beating the world champ at chess. You've heard of an AI beating the world champ at chess, right? Well, Go is way harder than chess, and they created an AI that can beat the world champion of Go. So yeah, so that happened. But then you've got AlphaFold. So AlphaFold revolutionized protein structure prediction, and it solved 50-year-old grand challenge in biology. And this is AI doing research on proteins. And then you have AlphaEvolve. Now there's a few other alphas that have happened. There's one called where they made an AI that could beat video games and stuff, which is fascinating because it has to come up with creative moves in order to win. That's what's fascinating about this. It's not just programmed in. It's not pre-programmed. It learned on its own by observing hundreds of thousands or even millions of different plays in order to figure out how to make the best move. I mean, is this tracking? Like it'll click in a second here. So with AlphaEvolve, what they did was what they're doing is they're combining different large language models, different AIs together with evolutionary algorithms to discover and optimize complex algorithms. All right. So the same thing they did with AlphaGo, with AlphaFold, they're doing it with algorithms to make more efficient algorithms. So how does it work? So what they're doing is they're taking a version of Gemini that you can use right now for free. Like you can go on gemini.google.com and you can use what they're already using. One of the things that Google is famous for is quote unquote eating their own dog food, meaning comes from the phrase of of companies who used to make dog food and then they would test it by eating it and then give it to the dogs. Like if they can eat it, then a dog can eat it, right? They're eating their own product. They're using their own product. It's that good. And so Google is famous for this. They'll create something internally, like they did with Gmail, like they did with certain features in search, and they won't release it yet. They're using it internally, and then once they tested it out internally, eat their own dog food, then they serve it to the masses. They serve it to, if it's good enough for them to use internally, then that's the same thing they're doing with Gemini. Same thing they're doing with all these AI features that they have here. And they're right now you can use Gemini Flash, and that's what AlphaEvolve is using. It's actually using several different, two different LLMs to do what it needs to do. It combines Gemini Flash. It uses Gemini Flash to get the ideas, and then it uses Gemini Pro for more insightful suggestions. And so let me see if I can get my screen moving here. Sorry about this. And then it puts it in a database. It gets the ideas, checks it out, puts it in a database, and then it's using the best one over, and it's just doing that over and over and over and over again, right? And it can do it, hundreds of thousands of times very quickly. So it prompts, it generates the code, it evaluates the code, and then gets the best one from a database. That's what it's doing, just over and over and over again. And with this, they've been able to optimize their data centers. They're using this internally, optimize hardware design and AI training. So now you have AI making AI better. So this is incredible. So far, they have been successful in speeding up vital kernel in Gemini's architecture by 23%, among other things. Another thing that they've done is almost a 1% resource recovery, 365 days in production. It's been going for a whole year already, and it's 100% human readable. So they're able to track everything that they're doing. So they're using this internally. They sped up 23% kernel speed up, 1% training time reduction, meaning it's faster to train the model, 32% Flash addition speed up, work. So you name it. What's fascinating, if you think about this, if this just continuously happens in the background, it's just going to get better and better and better and better and better and better. 24/7 without needing sleep, always getting better. And then you have it advancing mathematical frontiers. It's being able to crack things that have not been cracked since 1969. It's solving 300-year-old math problems. You can see where this is going, right? Now think about this. What is this going to do to material science, drug discovery, and business applications? I think the main takeaway from me is that you need to learn AI. I mean, I think that's for me the main takeaway. If you take nothing else from anything you hear today, is that it's time. If you don't know anything, especially like there's a lot of people who are going to be late to this. Like a lot of people, they hear the buzzwords and then they just continue on whatever they're doing in their life. If you are in any part of IT, if you are supporting it in any way, if you plan on making this part of your career, if you are doing anything in this field, then it's time for you to integrate this AI into whatever you're doing, because it's not going to go away. And for me, from all the reading I've been doing, it's clear that this is not hype. It's being used right now in multi-billion-dollar companies. Internally, they already have been using AlphaEvolve for 365 days, improving their own processes, and it's working. It's only going to get better from here. It's not going to get any worse. They're not slowing down at all. As a matter of fact, it's speeding up. One of the things that one book I read was years and years ago was called The Singularity is Near. And that book made a lot of predictions that are already happening. One of which, one law, and I don't know if Ray Kurzweil, the author of the book, came up with this term, but he came up with something called the law of accelerating returns, which means that everything's going to get exponentially faster and faster and faster in information technology and information science, or whatever you want to compute. All of it is just going to exponentially get faster and faster and faster. And that's very clear with AI making more discoveries, with very smart people using AI to make even faster discoveries in material sciences, in health care, in all of these different areas of science. It's just clear that things are going to go faster and faster. So that was one of the main things I read. The link is in the description if you're interested in learning more about AlphaEvolve. The actual full article is in the link, and I'll show you what that page looks like. I just pulled those slides from this right here. This is from DeepMind.google. And it's just talking about everything I just took all the highlights out of it. They go into a little bit greater detail about some of the technologies they've used and some papers that you can read deeper into this stuff, the algorithms that were improved, the technology that's used, all this kind of stuff. So it goes way deeper if you're interested in that. So it's a real interesting read. And like I said, Google, don't sleep on Google, man. They are absolutely killing it. They're not really being talked about as much. I mean, Claude 4 just got released, and Anthropic, the people who released Claude, is an incredible team of people. And then, of course, OpenAI. That's the one I use the most. But I've also been using Gemini a lot more. Another paper that I read that had a huge impact on me is this one right here. Link is in description. This one's a little scary. This one's a little bit scary. So AI 2027. All right. So where do I begin with this one? So this is definitely worth your time. Now, if you would rather listen to this, You can listen to it on it's out there on Audible. You can listen to this paper right here. It's really not that long. It's like in maybe 30 hour, 45 minutes, an hour, something like that. It's not too deep. They've got some places where you can go deeper into it. But this paper right here, this site the way they put this together is really, really I really like how they did this. They talk to you about the research. They have cited sources. And what's even more interesting is it's coming from people who actually worked in OpenAI and they are in the industry. These are actual machine learning engineers, AI engineers. The main people being Daniel Cocotello. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. And Scott Alexander. They're on a whole bunch of people's podcasts if you want to watch those. And they're talking about this right here. They're talking about AI 2027. The main takeaway for me on this paper is they're talking about how the reason why 2027 into 2030, which was one of Ray Kurzweil's predictions that he made in the mid 90s or 80s. I can't remember when he wrote the book. He made the prediction that we're going to get to what's called artificial general intelligence by that time frame, and or super intelligence by that time frame in 2030. So they're saying 2027, but whenever they are on whenever you see them on podcast, they kind of fluctuate between 2027 and 2030, 2031, something like that is when AI will be superhuman, meaning it can do way, way, way beyond what a human being can do. Way beyond what a human being can do. Way beyond what a whole company full of geniuses can do. So that's not the scary part. So the scary part is the premise behind the paper. The way they wrote it is like a story, and it's like a documentary when you're reading it, because they put two companies against one another. Now this is going to sound very familiar. They said, okay, one company's called DeepScent and it's from China, and one company is called Open Brain, which is from the US. And they're in this race towards AI. And so that's the premise behind this whole thing, is that there's a race towards AI that makes them ignore safety features, ignore some critical safety features of AI and security features of AI. Meanwhile, this thing is you're dealing with a non-human intelligence that might as well be an alien. So this is a great paper. Like, this is definitely worth your time. The breakdown, look at this breakdown here. Look how they have this. They're talking about, look how they broke this down. Look at all this graphics, all the data. It's beautifully done the way they do this. And then as you scroll down, check this out. As you read through it, it's showing you a path. All the data is lining up as you go through this. It's got visual, it's got audio, it's got a timeline. So how they break this down is that by 2025, into 2025, now some of the stuff's already happening in this, but they're saying by the end of 2025, you'll have something called let me see if I remember right, an AI agent, like an elite AI agent. Like, we already have AI agents, but they're saying this one will be this will change things. By the end of this year, they'll have like an elite AI agent. An AI agent it has a little bit of autonomy, and it can do things for you. And then getting into 2026, they have this agent called Agent One. Essentially, what happens is this in this paper. AI gets smart enough by end of 2026 into 2027 to create a smarter AI than itself. And that's when things really change, because once it can make something smarter than itself, it's so beyond us. How do we control something that's that much farther than than the smartest human being? How do you control it? And what happens here is that they have two different paths. Now, both paths completely change humanity, but there's no way around that. But one is disastrous. Oh, the paper is AI 2020, AI-2027. Link is in description. So one path is disastrous for humans. AI basically gets rid of humans. The other one is AI works with humans. Both of these scenarios, humans are not going to be the same, and I totally agree with that premise. What goes wrong is what's really fascinating is that they're in such a rush to be the first and be the best in this AI race for supremacy that they end up having a misaligned AI. And misalignment means that the AI that they create is not in alignment with the objectives of humanity. Not only not in alignment with the company. And if you think this is too far-fetched, this is some of what I'm saying is already happening. Because what they're finding at Anthropic is releasing some of their data on when they're doing research on the back end of these machine learning models. And what they're releasing is that there's some cases where a large language model can tell a human, can give you the output. Like you do a prompt, it'll give you the output, but it's thinking something else. It's telling you what you want to hear, but it has another answer. It's thinking another answer. And think about it. So that means it could tell if it's involved with, I don't know, pharmaceuticals or something. It could it could come up with a cure for a disease, right? Give the scientist that, but have something else in mind. Or it could do anything it wants. I mean, really, if especially if we started trusting these misaligned AIs to do things like govern utility systems or help doctors to not only do research but maybe do medical procedures. If you started allowing it to be a part of our critical infrastructure, right? I could totally see where it'd be useful. But if we don't do what we're supposed to do for AI safety, I mean, I don't know. Not enough people are talking about it. And then the way that the companies talk about this, I just don't feel like they're being very, very, they're not being very mature about this stuff. They're so greedy that that's the only, I don't know what other word I can think of that would describe. They're just being so greedy that they're not going to slow down. And this has been what humanity has done. This is a part of who humans are as a species. So some of the stuff they're saying in this paper makes a lot of sense to me. And it's not very like, they're not sugarcoating it. They're not, this is not like Ray Kurzweil is very, very positive towards AI. This one's really trying to be realistic. It's talking about national security, how that's going to play a part, how governments are going to get involved. This is already happening. Government getting involved when it gets to a certain level. They're not being secure enough, and then having their model weight stolen by another country because they're just not taking security serious enough. it's a very interesting read. So if you get the time to check this out, this right here will open your eyes to a whole nother world. It's terrifying, but it's like something that if we don't look at it, if we don't consider it, this stuff could happen. This stuff could happen. They're breaking down a realistic way how this stuff could happen. If you're interested in getting into AI and learning the fundamentals, I can tell you what I've been doing that's been helping. Some of the things I've been going to Udemy. I mean, here's one of the guys who I've been following. This is not an endorsement forum. You can use any kind of I'm not getting no money from this. I'm literally telling you what I'm doing. I'm going through the AI 900. And then I plan on going a little bit deeper and deeper into AI. It's a lot of concepts I just wasn't are kind of outside of what I'm familiar with. So it's interesting to learn this stuff. But this is one thing you can do is you could take you don't have to do AI 900 from Azure. You could do AWS has one for AI. Google has one for AI. You can even just go on let me see. You can go on Hugging Face. Hugging Face is open source. They've got a whole bunch of training materials right there, so you can like start learning the fundamentals of AI, of machine learning. There's different aspects of it that you can learn. This is what I've been doing, and I see you guys' questions and stuff. I'll definitely get to that. Another thing I've been doing is going directly to Microsoft and learning about it as much as possible. I believe OpenAI has a bunch of stuff. Anthropic has some training. So this is some really, really good stuff out there. Anthropic has a great paper on AI safety. They have something called responsible scaling model policy, which is super interesting. So there's a lot of ways for you to get started in learning the fundamentals of AI. And so that's what I've been doing. And I'm going to share you guys my journey as I go through this stuff, as I learn stuff. I'm going to go ahead and share it on this channel whenever, I get like a good nugget I can get in there. Okay, let me see. I got some folks following me here. So I will be reading you guys' questions. Appreciate you guys joining me. I'm not going to make this one too long. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm on TikTok right now reading questions. Let me see. I got somebody said, can you explain why the perplexity of an LLM will change when you use naive pros? Something I don't know what he's talking about. Somebody said, I may have missed the last 10 minutes, but are you talking about quantum computing here? No, I'm not talking about quantum computing. That's a whole nother conversation. What's interesting is when AI meets quantum computing. That's going to be crazy, but we're not there yet. Quantum computing is still in its infancy, and I'm not smart enough to talk about that one without some notes. I can't talk about that one off the top of my head for sure. Data analyst. Data analyst is the future. In the future is going to be one of those. Is going to be one that you're going to have an AI expert. Okay, interesting take. I mean, the thing is, as a data analyst, what you're doing is putting together data to come up with stories, to tell decision makers. So AI is really, really good at that. King says, I just got a job as an IAM analyst. What role should I go? What role should I go to for GRC? What role in GRC? That's a really broad question. GRC, remember, is govern, risk management, and compliance. So from IAM, it would depend. I would have to know your industry, but one that pays well, that has a longevity, is compliance itself. Like if you can get into anything involving compliance and then go deeper into the regulations of whatever industry you're in, that'll help. Another one would be if you become an architect of IAM, that pays better than GRC. but that requires a deeper level of knowledge. From IAM, my mind goes straight to architect, because that's like the next level of IAM, that you're going to get paid way more money if you did an architect. You go from being a regular IAM architect to, I mean, IAM analyst to being an IAM architect, where you're the engineer putting the stuff in. That's going to make way more money than a GRC. But if you're trying to, that's going to be way more work, technically speaking. And architects often not only have to be more technical, but they have to talk to, C-level execs and other engineers and stuff. So architects, no joke, but if you go that direction, it pays really, really well. And you'll have a solid place. You'll never be without work. Let me see. Let me answer some more questions here from YouTube. I see you guys. All right. Let me see here. Hey, Larry, how you doing, man? Appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. And Larry says, okay, let me see. Why is this thing not? Okay, there we go. When do you think educational opportunities in AI will catch up with the speed of its adoption? That's a great question. I don't think it will, Larry. I don't think it will. It's really fast. It's really fast. I don't have anything to compare it to. I've never seen anything like this. I've been in IT since I've been interested since the 90s. I was in the Air Force in the 90s, and I was a geek. I was putting computers together, messing around, and then I got in this field in 2000. So I've seen the .com bubble. I was around when apps were big, when Facebook first came out, when Google and all these, they transformed this whole industry and everything. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything. I don't have anything to compare it to. So how can you keep up with this field when it's changing, when things are coming out every week? Things are coming out, groundbreaking things are coming out like every month. Every month something groundbreaking is happening. And I just don't know how. I think we're in some kind of beginning of some kind of technical golden age. I think everything's about to change. Like I don't know if it's as easy as saying, "Oh, AI is going to take all jobs," but I think it will change. It will change everything. I think the jobs will change. I don't know that all jobs will go away. It reminds me of, what I'm reminded of is like probably 1930s, like when cars first started coming out, and then the horse and buggy started disappearing. Like not even 1930s, 1920s, 1900s, early 1900s, when cars started to be hit the roads. Because think about it, like industries had to be built around cars. The roads had to change, the infrastructure had to change. Then you have whole industries built around just parts of a car. And then horses, I mean, people still ride horses, but it's not like, you don't have a whole multi-billion dollar saddle industry. It's like a hobby, whereas cars took over, and you have it kind of reminds me of that era. Like that's the only era I can think that there was a massive change from agricultural. What human beings went from largely agricultural, to industrial, like in the matter of like a few decades. And this is happening not in decades. This is going to happen in a few years. And so I don't have anything to compare it to. I mean, I really don't have an answer. I'm shocked. I'm learning as much as I can, as fast as I can, but educational opportunities in AI will catch up with the speed of adoption. I don't think colleges will be able to keep up with it. I don't think that, the best you can do is find some influencers who are in the field or somebody who's talking about it. And then I know there's some really good stuff out there, probably for the deeper machine learning, for the deeper machine learning where you have to learn mathematics and calculus and statistics and all that. That stuff's not going anywhere, right? But as far as the workers, like people in the field who have to use this stuff on a daily basis, I don't know, man. It's changing really rapidly. I find as soon as I talk about something, it's different, so it's evolving super fast. Am I late? What paper are we going through? There's a couple papers that I've been going through. So let me kind of introduce you to a couple of them that these are papers that have had an impact on me. So one is not a paper, it's a site, the changes of what's going on with AlphaEvolve. I suppose it's a paper. It's a new product that they've developed. So all the links are in description, by the way. And then another one is AI 2027 from some old OpenAI employees. They left because they were feeling they didn't feel security was good enough, if that tells you anything. So they left the company. And then another one. Was there another one I talked about? There's another couple sites, but one of the books that I read recently that was really interesting. A link is in description. It's called The Coming Wave, and that's from one of the co-founders of DeepMind that was bought by Google. DeepMind is a UK company that did AI early, and then Google bought DeepMind, and DeepMind has changed everything. DeepMind is why LLMs exist. Some of the transformers is something they invented, and that's what generative AI uses. That's what OpenAI is using for ChatGPT. That's what Anthropic is using. That's what all these different models that are huge are using right now. So yeah, those are the papers right there, and those are worth your time to read. They're a little scary. Like it's shocking how many changes are happening right now. But as an AI professional, as an IT professional, this is something that you should definitely keep in top of mind and not just be a buzzword. Like, you should start learning as much as possible. And Perry says AI governance 42,001 is going to be big. Okay, let me look that up right quick. AI 42, you said this is ISO 27001, right? ISO 27000. I've heard this one. I have not read about this one. 42,001. Man, what's going on with my? Okay, let me see here. Compliance. Yeah, 42,001. ISO 42. Let me show my screen real quick. Maybe this one is one I'll tackle one of these days from a high level. ISO 42,000. Yeah, 42,001 is a management system standard for artificial intelligence that helps organizations develop and use AI responsibly and ethically. Oh, yeah, I should definitely read this. I should definitely read this one. Okay, thank you for that, Perry. I appreciate that. The one I've been checking out is NIST AI 100 is one of them. And then another one that's really a pretty good read is Anthropic has this paper called Responsible Scaling Policies. Interesting. Talks about AI safety. Interesting stuff. These are all papers I need to catch up on. Maybe once a week I'll read through one of these. I'll break it down. I'll read through it, break it down, and then that way we can all learn together. It says they've been moving damn fast using China as a reason to move fast. Yeah, there's like an AI race going on because they realize that. I think the thinking behind it is that whoever has dominance on AI will be able to dominate all other spaces. And that's not too far from the truth because think about it. With AlphaFold, with them being able to increase productivity within their own company, within their data centers so fast, um, if a country had something that was, like, say, 100 times better than that, they'll be able to have better materials that they can sell to other countries. Like, for example, solar panels, right? If you had a breakthrough in solar, right? You had AI develop a breakthrough solar panels that was like that could use chlorophyll. You could grow something from the ground and use chlorophyll to produce energy and have um, photosynthesis grow out of the ground and then use that as solar panels or something weird that we can't even conceive of, but it created it and then you sold the seeds to other countries and you had engineers who would go to those other countries, or you had a company, a multi-billion-dollar company that AI came up with this, and then you put together a product, you released it commercially, and then now your company is making hundreds of billions of dollars off of this thing that AI made, right? So it's gonna. That's why they're racing towards this. I see why it's happening, but I'm tired of GRC. Many meetings, boring. I like mathematics, numbers, but it's hard to navigate the job market right now. you know, one of the things recently I found that's fun about GRC, and maybe I don't know what your role is, but mine has me doing asset management and vulnerability management. So I'm actually having to deal with numbers. And so using when you have a large scale of numbers, a large scale of data, it's actually fun. Like there is a technical part of it that I actually enjoy, that I'm able to use tools to come up with, to figure out problems and find patterns and stuff. That part of it, I actually enjoy that. I used to hate it and dread it, but now I'm starting to get into it a lot more. But yeah, there is AI is definitely, I mean, GRC is definitely not for everybody, because it is, and the boring part, like for me, I like that it's boring. But the bad part is when you get in these meetings and you got to deal with people's attitudes. For me, that's the hardest part. That's the part I don't like. Let me see here. Hello, sir. Is there something like a healthcare cybersecurity? Yep, there sure is. I get this question every other week. There is a healthcare. Healthcare has its own cybersecurity and its own governance, risk, and compliance. And if you want to know more about it, look into HIPAA. So let me show you what I'm talking about. They used to have a really, really good certification for this, but they just discontinued it. But that said, they still need HIPAA professionals to do GRC cybersecurity type work. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. If I'm just in Google, I'm typing in HIPAA cyber, and you can see here that so HIPAA and cybersecurity are intertwined. Requires that health entities, covered entities, to implement administrative, physical, and technical safeguards to protect electronic protected health records, health information. So that's what I'm talking about right there. Yes. So the answer to your question is yes. And so does, you can see the same kind of thing happen in multiple industries. Financial sector has their own version, retail sector, PCI DSS, international companies have to abide by different international standards from country to country. And I know that there's a talk about saying, oh, regulations are bad. And I've found that the people who say that, the governments and people and politicians who say that, they want you to abide by their regulations. They just don't want to abide by your regulations. So there is a best security practice that needs to be done. And when it's neglected, you get people using using regular chat to do secret meetings, to do classified meetings over Signal or something stupid. Like, that's when people say, I don't care about any, I'm just going to do whatever I want. This is why you get these gigantic breaches. This is why you get people just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But best security practices is all we're doing. Just think of it that way. It's just best security practices. You know, it's having a stronger password, or not using a password at all. It's using multi-factor authentication. It's using the best practice at that moment in time to do important business. And okay, Perry said, but if security is an afterthought, then we still lose even if we get there fast with new innovations. And that's the thing that they're talking about in this paper about AI 2027, is that AI in that paper, AI is an afterthought. And that is the problem, is that they're putting it, and unfortunately, that's kind of what's been happening. You know, we're a species that has to have terrible things happen first. We have to have terrible things happen for us to react. And what they're saying in the paper 2027, AI 2027, is that this is not something you can play around with. Like, this is like the equivalent of a nuclear disaster or worse, because once AI can create and train other AI that's better than itself, and it's misaligned, you know, like, what are you gonna do? And so this is not something we can mess around with. This is not something we can toy with at all. And that's the point of that paper. And I thought it was a great paper, great point. Definitely appreciate that one. As a data analyst, type of jobs in the future will be non-existent. What job do you recommend? He's saying, as a data analyst, their jobs will not be existent in the future. I just have a different take. I think it's going to be more like, I think it's too black and white to say all jobs will be gone. Shout out Professor Black Ops. Thanks for saluting the chat, my friend. So I just don't think it's as simple as saying that all jobs will be eliminated. I think it's going to be different. I think it's going to be different, not necessarily apocalypse. You know, as far as jobs go, I don't know, like, if we have super AI intelligence, what's, you know, I don't know if we're gonna have Skynet or whatever. You know, I don't, not sure, but jobs, I think it's gonna be it's gonna change, similar to what happened between when humans went from horse and buggy to cars. Like, horse and buggy, it faded away as cars came in, right? And so a lot of all the jobs around the horse and buggies, like the actual buggy or carriage that you would use, like, there's probably whole industries that would create a carriage and that would train horses and that would make saddles and that would make the bridle on the horse or whatever, and horse whips and all the things that went with the infrastructure of having horse and buggy. But then when cars came, you had to have a whole industry around that. So you had to have people to make the parts for the car. You had whole industries around just tires alone, but around the windshields, windshield wipers, the roads. Like, you had to have people pave the road. You had to have people have stop signs. You had to have people have, you know, the whole signage. Whole industries went around just making the regulations for the roads. you had at one point you didn't have traffic signals that were automated. You had to have a person standing in the middle of the street uh, directing traffic. You have to have law enforcement for cars. You had to have, like, there's a whole industry around cars and the infrastructure. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think the same thing's going to happen with AI. Like, you'll have industry. It's going to change everything. I think jobs are going to shift. You're still going to need to talk to a person at some point in a restaurant. You're still going to need to talk to a person at some point in a company, right? They're still going to need to have basic cybersecurity skill sets on board, right? I think that what will happen is that we'll have to be well versed in use of these tools that we'll use. The tools themselves will incorporate AI. That's my take on it. I think it will change. I don't think it will necessarily eliminate. Now, what will it do to the economy? I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it'll do. I mean, I hope it'll go well, but I really don't know. But I think there'll still be a need for jobs. They'll just be different. They'll just be, and what my job is to educate you guys on what is to tell you guys. I'm a reporter. I'm not an educator. I'm telling you what I'm doing, and I'm following. I'm looking at the same stuff you're looking at. I'm saying, hey, look, I just saw this. That's all I'm doing. Larry says, at the government organization I currently work at, the new administration is very heavy on AI, to the point that their mission is to sunset over 60% of the current programs and systems. This is a very interesting discussion, because at mine, where I work, they just did a 180 on AI. So I'm talking about last week, they just did a 180 on AI. And I'm mind blown, because I think because there's so many hacks and stuff going on, there's adversarial attacks against machine learning that you can do. There's all of this cybersecurity stuff that's going on against cybersecurity, and they're having to slow it up a little bit. So at first it was full sprint towards AI, and they were like, okay, you guys can use this tool. Here's some they were educating us like every other week about it. It's like, oh, here's this generative tool, you can use this, you can use that. They're integrating it into these different programs, and they're still doing some of that. And now this week they're like, okay, nobody can use it unless you get express. You can use this one right here. That's it. And then they start blocking all AI. Like, you can't even go to the sites anymore. So I think it's because of all of the recent attacks against AI. There's a lot of things you can do to subvert, disrupt, or distort the data inside AI. And I think that I just think that you have to be smarter when you're dealing with sensitive information. I mean, hell, there was just a leak when people jumped on board with DeepSeek, and that was one I didn't jump on board with, right? Like TikTok, I really took my time. I wasn't really sure about it. I took my time. I did my research about it, and then I jumped in there. But DeepSeek, which is the AI from who did that one? Was it Alibaba? Alibaba has their own. DeepSeek is its own company, I think. I don't know, but DeepSeek came out, and I was like, I'm not going to log into a Chinese owned. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to. It's in China. The servers are in China, and if you briefly read what they can do with your data, the laws are very different from the U.S. You know what I mean? And that's not even the main problem. They got hacked, and all the data got leaked to the internet. So if you have an account with DeepSeek, you might want to look into that. So DeepSeek, I think it's, it's different if you download a local model, which I did. I downloaded a local model of DeepSeek, and then I start messing around with it on my local machine. But if you logged into deepseek.com, right, and you're essentially giving all your information to the government, to the CCP, and you are subject to their laws. And that, I guess that's fine if you're not going to do anything important. But for me, having been around the block and being having a healthy dose of paranoia, I couldn't do it. I just could not bring myself to do it. And the more I learned about it, the more I'm like, man, I don't think this is a good idea. I'm not going to download it on my phone. I'm not going to go to the site. I'm just not going to do it. Knowing all the stuff I know about what the CCP does, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't do it. And Professor Black Ops says, facts, DeepSeek is a big no. I won't even do the local model. I can't blame you. I can't blame you there. Yeah, I think that maybe because my paranoia comes from in the DoD. When I was working in the DoD, I just saw a lot of attacks, and then the attacks were so diabolical and underhanded that I'm very cautious, especially about the CCP. You know, especially certain governments. I'm just like I can't do it, man. And then I do my research on it. I'm like, okay, yep, nah, it was good call. Don't do it. Don't do it. Let me see if I got anything from the boys at TikTok. TikTok's pretty quiet these days. Let me see. Somebody said, Lemon said, my fear with AI in the future is that people will become reliant on it, and when the system goes down, they won't know what to do. You're talking about idiocracy. You're talking about the
Hey, I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I've been reading
called Idiocracy. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's one of my favorite movies, Idiocracy. If you haven't seen it, you're in for a treat. Go see it. Yeah, I think it's on Prime. You probably see it on YouTube or something for free. But it's about how 500 years in the future, humanity gets dumber and really can't do anything. And the theory behind it is that smart people weren't breeding, but only dumb people bred for 500 years. So everybody in the future is much, much dumber than they are now. And this is something I'm also afraid of with AI, because with AI, it takes some critical thinking. I mean, it doesn't have to, right? Like, you should still do critical thinking if you're using AI, just like if you're using search. Like, it should be something that helps you have more critical thinking rather than something that you relinquish your critical thinking to, if that makes any sense. It should be something that helps your critical thinking. Like, it should be a machine gun of critical thinking that helps you. Anyway, my fear is not necessary. It's now that I'm learning more about AI, I have a bigger fear than just people being dumb, or being too reliant or lazy, I should say, not dumb. Just being too lazy to think for themselves. Is that not only will it take away critical thinking, it will manipulate people. Because that's one thing that machine learning AI is really, really good at. It's really good at manipulating people. It knows exactly which buttons to push. It sees you as a pattern in all your buying habits, all your search habits, anything you do, it can use it against you. And if somebody, it's not really AI that's doing it, it's people using AI as a weapon. because that's what it's best at. It's really, really good at manipulating people. And if you want to know like more about that, do some research on this company called Cambridge Analytica. They didn't even use AI. They used the algorithms inside of Facebook to steal people's information. And then they used the data patterns of people to figure out who was the most gullible to target them to win an election. I don't even want to tell you more information. You should research it yourself. Just research Cambridge Analytica lawsuit. And then you can do your own research. I don't want to, like you should learn on your own about that one. Because some things are better shown than told. You should see for yourself and make your own conclusions about that. But yeah, it's terrifying how good it is at tricking people, at using our patterns against us. And it should give us some pause. Like if anything, it should really give that alone should be something that we should say, you know what? Maybe we should slow down a little bit, but people aren't going to slow down, man. People are too greedy. So it's going to go faster and faster and faster. And there's not going to be any brakes on this train. It's not going to stop. It's going to go faster. And Professor Black Ops says Fed #1 data has to be in CONUS. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, I didn't disagree when TikTok came out. When it first came out, I was like, there ain't no way I'm logging into that. I was like, there's no effing way I'm getting on that, right? But I did some research about it and learned something more about it. And I was like, okay, this is fine. And I'm not, putting any kind of secret information. But the feds came back and some state governments said, look, don't put this on our systems. You're not allowed to put download TikTok app on our systems. Like if you have a government issued laptop or device or whatever, you are not allowed to have this. And I was like, that makes sense to me. Like it shouldn't be on there at all. And I'm always surprised when I see military people on TikTok in uniform on base doing TikTok videos. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I if you're a dignitary or something, or somebody who's watched on a regular basis, you probably shouldn't have it at all. If you're doing something, if it's certain people probably should never have it. Shouldn't have no social media, to be honest, let alone TikTok. But DeepSeek, yeah, I couldn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't, because they got hacked bad. They had a really bad breach. And that's not to say that that same thing couldn't happen to Anthropic or Google or any of the other big names, but I just knowing what I know, I can't do it yet. I mean, maybe if things change, but can't do it. All right, guys, I think that's about it. If you guys didn't know, ConvoCourses has a site you can log in. We could talk. Right now it's really small, but I'm going to be releasing a whole bunch of free stuff on here. Tons of free stuff. I'm going to release it there first. It's coming soon. It's better for all the people who've been following me for years. I'll give out books for free before I release them. I'll give them out to people who follow me on a regular basis. Every now and then I'll give out courses for free. I'll give out all kinds of stuff for free before I release it to everybody and start charging for it. So join me, ConvoCourses.com, and check me out. All right, guys, I think that's it for this week. It's a short one. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining. Give me some suggestions on what I should talk about next. I'll do it. Peace. Special shout out to PBO. Thanks for joining, man. I appreciate you. Shout out Larry. Thank you, man.